students, we are going to start with a new lesson, and the lesson is molecular basis of inheritance. Another important lesson in biology text, right? And it is also an important lesson if you talk about NEET exams. So children, today we are going to start with molecular basis of inheritance, right? So या चॅप्टरला सुरुवात करण्याआधी आपण हे बघणार आहोत की डिस्कवरी डीएनए ची डिस्कवरी कशी झाली, राईट? हाऊ वॉज डीएनए डिस्कवर्ड. आपल्याला माहिती आहे की मेंडलला डीएनए बद्दल काही माहिती नव्हती, त्यांना जीन्सची देखील कल्पना नव्हती. इथे मात्र डिस्कवरी कशी झाली डीएनए ची ती आपण बघूया. इन 1869 फ्रेडरिक मेशर ही वॉज द पर्सन हु डिस्कवर्ड डीएनए, राईट? सो फ्रेडरिक मेशर हे ते सायंटिस्ट आहे ज्याने डीएनए डिस्कवर केला, आणि डीएनए ची डिस्कवरी कशी झाली ते आपण थोडक्यात बघणार आहोत, राईट? सो हे जे फ्रेडरिक मेशर नावाचे जे शास्त्रज्ञ होते त्यांचा अभ्यास सुरू होता डब्ल्यूबीसीज वर, व्हाईट ब्लड सेल्स वर ते अभ्यास करत होते. आणि त्यांच्या अभ्यासासाठी ते लोकल हॉस्पिटल्सला व्हिजिट करायचे, पेशंट्सचे बँडेजेस जमा करायचे, त्या बँडेजेसला सॉल्ट सोल्युशन धुवायचे आणि त्याच्यामधला जो पू असतो त्या बँडेजेस मधला पस जे असतो तो ते गोळा करायचे, राईट? त्यांनी काय केलं, भरपूर प्रमाणात पस गोळा केला, राईट? And he collected a lot of pus from those bandages, and then he treated the pus or the collected pus with the alkaline solution. त्याने त्याच्यानंतर काय केलं, त्या पसला त्याने अल्कलाइन सोल्युशनने ट्रीट केलं. त्याचा परिणाम असा झाला की त्या पस मध्ये जे सेल्स होते ते लाइज्ड झाले, ते ब्रोक अप. जे सेल्स असतात ते इंटॅक्ट असतात आणि अल्कलाइन सोल्युशनने ट्रीट केल्यानंतर ते सेल्स जे आहेत ते तुटले किंवा त्याचा सेल वॉल जो आहे तो रप्चर झाला आणि त्याच्यातनं जे न्यूक्लियस आहेत ते बाहेर पडले, राईट? ते बाहेर पडलेले जे न्यूक्लियस आहे ते त्या अल्कलाइन सोल्युशन मध्ये खाली जाऊन बसले, प्रेसिपिटेट झाले, आणि ते जे न्यूक्लियस आहे, राईट? ते जे न्यूक्लियाय आहे जे त्यांनी कलेक्ट केले, राईट? ते त्यांनी आयसोलेट केले, राईट? मग त्यांनी काय केलं, ते न्यूक्लियसला त्यांनी आयसोलेट केलं, सेपरेट केलं. बाकीच्या सेलचे जे बाकीचे ऑर्गनल्स होते किंवा सेल्सचा जो बाकीचा भाग होता तो या न्यूक्लियस पासून त्यांनी सेपरेट केला. त्यांनी ह्या न्यूक्लियसला आयसोलेट केलं आणि हे न्यूक्लियस जो केमिकल सबस्टन्स होता त्याला त्यांनी न्यूक्लिइन असं नाव दिलं, राईट? हे जे न्यूक्लियन आहे केमिकली, जेव्हा त्यांनी त्याचा अभ्यास केला की केमिकल कंपोजिशन हे न्यूक्लियनचं काय आहे, तेव्हा त्यांना असं आढळलं की या न्यूक्लियन मध्ये भरपूर प्रमाणात फॉस्फरस आहे, राईट? आणि या फॉस्फरस सोबत तो जो न्यूक्लियन नावाचा पदार्थ होता तो ऍसिडिक आहे असं त्यांना आढळलं, राईट? अँड हेन्स ही कॉल्ड इट ऍज न्यूक्लिक ऍसिड. म्हणून सुरुवातीला ज्याला त्यांनी न्यूक्लिइन म्हटलं होतं आता त्यांनी न्यूक्लिक ऍसिड म्हटलं, कारण हे जे न्यूक्लियन नावाचा पदार्थ होता तो ऍसिडिक प्रॉपर्टी दाखवत होता, राईट? 1900 मध्ये किंवा 1900च्या सुरुवातीला, राईट, आपल्याला या न्यूक्लियन बद्दल आणखीन काही माहिती मिळाली. आपल्याला माहिती पडलं की न्यूक्लियन हे मिक्सचर आहे, त्याच्यामध्ये प्रोटीन्स आणि न्यूक्लिक ऍसिड सुद्धा आहे, राईट? सुरुवातीला आपल्याला माहिती होतं त्याच्यात फॉस्फरस आहे, करेक्ट? ते ऍसिडिक आहे एवढं आपल्याला माहित होतं. पण 1900 मध्ये आपल्याला आणखीन काही माहिती मिळाली आणि ती माहिती अशी होती की न्यूक्लिक ऍसिड मध्ये प्रोटीन्स आणि न्यूक्लिक ऍसिड सुद्धा पाहायला मिळतात. सो ऑन अँड कॉन्ट्ररी बेसिकली जे न्यूक्लिक ऍसिड्स आहेत ते दोन प्रकारचे आहेत, राईट? पहिला जो न्यूक्लिक ऍसिडचा प्रकार आहे त्याला डीएनए म्हणतात, डिऑक्सी रायबोन्यूक्लिक ऍसिड, आणि दुसरा जो प्रकार आहे त्याला आपण रायबोन्यूक्लिक ऍसिड असं म्हणतो. We are going to learn that DNA is the genetic material, right? So DNA is a genetic material that we came to know very late, right? हळूहळू माहिती झालं की डीएनए हा जेनेटिक मटेरियल आहे. सुरुवातीला बराचसा भ्रम होता की प्रथिन जेनेटिक मटेरियल आहे की डीएनए जेनेटिक मटेरियल आहे, राईट? बाय द एंड ऑफ इन द बिगिनिंग ऑफ 1900 सेंचुरी द जेनेटिसिस्ट, जे जेनेटिसिस्ट होते, they knew that genes control the inheritance of triad. What did the geneticists know? They knew that the genes control the inheritance of triad, right? They also knew that genes are located on the chromosomes. They also knew that chemically the chromosomes are made up of DNA and proteins. So this was the information in hand, right? सुरुवातीला जेनेटिसिस्टला जी माहिती होती दॅट इज इन्फॉर्मेशन इन हँड ही होती की genes control the inheritance of trait, genes are located on the chromosomes and chromosome is made up of DNA and proteins, right? So initially सुरुवातीला जेनेटिसिस ला असं वाटलं की हे जे प्रथिन आहेत, राईट, डीएनए आणि प्रथिनांमध्ये जे प्रथिन आहेत ते लार्ज कॉम्प्लेक्स मॉलिक्युल्स आहेत, right? The proteins are large complex molecules and they are the molecules which store the information and this information governs the metabolism of the cell, right? सुरुवातीला शास्त्रज्ञांना असं वाटत होतं की जे प्रथिन होते ते लार्ज मॉलिक्युल्स आहेत, कॉम्प्लेक्स मॉलिक्युल्स आहेत, ते इन्फॉर्मेशन स्टोअर करतात. कशाची इन्फॉर्मेशन स्टोअर करतात तर सेल मध्ये जे कंट्रोल अँड कोऑर्डिनेशन आहे ते गव्हर्न करण्याचं काम किंवा ते गव्हर्न करण्याचे इन्फॉर्मेशन प्रथिनांकडे आहे असं सुरुवातीला शास्त्रज्ञांना वाटत होतं. त्यांनी असं सुद्धा ग्राह्य धरलं की प्रोटीन्स कॉज द व्हेरिएशन्स ऑब्झर्व विद इन द स्पीशीज, राईट. त्यांनी ग्राह्य धरलं की प्रथिनांमुळे स्पीशीज मध्ये व्हेरिएशन्स होतात, राईट. ऑन द अदर हँड जेव्हा त्यांनी डीएनए बद्दल विचार मांडला तेव्हा त्यांना असं वाटलं की डीएनए बद्दल त्यांचा विचार असा होता की इट इज अ स्मॉल सिम्पल molecule whose composition varies little bit from species to species, right? So दोघांचं कंपॅरिझन जेव्हा त्यांनी केलं तेव्हा त्यांनी प्रथिनांना जास्त महत्व दिले, डीएनएचं महत्व हे कमी झालेलं पाहायला मिळतंय. प्रथिनांना लार्ज म्हटलं, डीएनएला स्मॉल म्हटलं, प्रथिनांना कॉम्प्लेक्स मॉलिक्युल्स म्हटलं, डीएनएला सिंपल मॉलिक्युल्स म्हटलं आणि प्रथिन जे आहे ते सेलचं मेटाबॉलिझम गव्हर्न करतात असं म्हटलं आणि ही जी कॉम्पोजिशन आहे डीएनएचं ते थोडंफार व्हेरी करतं स्पीशीज टू स्पीशीज असं त्यांचं म्हणणं होतं, राईट. हळूहळू ओव्हर द टाइम हळूहळू काय झालं, द आयडियाज ऑफ डीएनए वॉज शोन टू बी रॉंग, राईट. हळूहळू त्यांचं असं लक्षात आलं की आपण जे मत मांडतोय, राईट, ते चुकीचं आहे, राईट. हळूहळू त्यांना डीएनएचं महत्व कळलं, राईट. सो इन फॅक्ट मग त्यांच्या असं लक्षात आलं की खरं पाहिलं असता जो डीएनए मॉलिक्यूल आहे, राईट, द डीएनए मॉलिक्यूल इज लार्ज अँड इट व्हेरीज ट्रमेंडसली इन बिटवीन द स्पीशीज ऑल्सो अँड फ्रॉम स्पीशीज टू स्पीशीज ऑल्सो. सो हळूहळू त्यांच्या असं लक्षात आलं की आपण जो अज्युम केलेला फॅक्ट आहे तो चुकीचा आहे. प्रथिनांपेक्षा डीएनए जास्त महत्वाचा आहे. डीएनए हा लार्ज मॉलिक्यूल आहे अँड इट व्हेरीज ट्रमेंडसली. ट्रमेंडसली म्हणजे स्पीशीज मधून एका स्पीशीज आणि दुसऱ्या स्पीशीज मधला डीएनए मॉलिक्यूल जर कम्पेअर केला तर त्याच्यामध्ये बरेचसे डिफरन्सेस पाहायला मिळतात. नाउ द व्हेरिएशन्स हिअर इन डीएनए आर डिफरंट फ्रॉम द व्हेरिएशन्स इन प्रोटीन्स. त्यांचं असंही लक्षात आलं की जे डीएनए मधले व्हेरिएशन्स आहेत ते प्रोटीन्सच्या व्हेरिएशन्स पेक्षा वेगळे आहेत. प्रोटीन मधले कसल्या प्रकारचे व्हेरिएशन्स पाहायला मिळाले तर चेंज इन शेप ऑफ द प्रोटीन वॉज अ व्हेरिएशन, राईट. इलेक्ट्रिकल चार्ज प्रथिनांवरचा बदलला तरी त्याला व्हेरिएशन म्हटलं झालं आणि प्रोटीन्सचे जर फंक्शन्स बदलले तरी व्हेरिएशन्स म्हटले, राईट. पण डीएनएचे जे व्हेरिएशन्स होते ते प्रथिनांच्या व्हेरिएशन्स पेक्षा वेगळे होते. कालांतराने पुढच्या 25 वर्षांमध्ये हे जग जाहीर झालं की प्रथिन नाही तर डीएनएच जेनेटिक मटेरियल आहे. We are going to learn Griffith's experiment. Griffith was a British medical officer in 1928 and this medical officer was performing some experiments on a bacteria which is called as Streptococcus pneumoniae, which is a causative agent or which causes pneumonia in humans as well as mammals. So in those days, even now there are a lot of death due to pneumonia. So he wanted to find a cure for it, a remedy for it, and for it he was working on the bacteria which is called as Streptococcus pneumoniae. Right? In his experiment, he selected 2 strains, right? 2 varieties of this Streptococcus pneumoniae. The first variety was called as S type or the first strain of bacteria. When we talk about bacteria, we talk about their strains, correct? And when we talk about those strains, the first type of the strain that was of Streptococcus pneumoniae was called as S type. This is a virulent strain. It is pathogenic as well as it is encapsulated and so it is smooth walled. Now what do you understand by the word virulent? Virulent means which is a which is disease causing, right? The nature is causing diseases, right? So it is an harmful type which will cause pneumonia. It is pathogenic, means it is attacking and causing pneumonia, correct? It is encapsulated, means it is having a coat, a covering, and the cover is smooth wall, correct? So this type of Streptococcus pneumoniae, which is S type, is a causative organism of pneumonia. He also took another strain of Streptococcus pneumoniae. It was called as R type. This R type is not disease causing. It is non-virulent. It is non-pathogenic. It is non-encapsulated, and so it is rough, right? So it is not having a protective covering, a capsule on it. So it is rough in appearance, correct? But it does not cause disease. So one of the strains was disease causing, pneumonia causing type was S type, and which was not causing pneumonia is called as R type. Then he performed his experiment in 4 steps, right? The first step, he took a mouse, he injected it with the R type, remember the R type, which does not cause disease, and he observed the mouse for a few days. He saw that the mouse did not get pneumonia, right? And it was running around and it was happy, right? So this mouse was alive after being injected R type, right? In his second step of experiment, he injected the S type, right? The disease causing strain into another mice, and in a few days time he saw that the mouse developed pneumonia and it died. So this mouse had died, or it is dead after it gets pneumonia, right? So confirmation takes place that S type is a virulent type, or it is a disease causing bacteria which is killing the mouse. In the third step, he did a little bit experiment. He took the S strain, he killed it by heating it, and those heat killed S type was injected in the mouse. So it's natural that if you are killing the bacteria, it is not capable of causing diseases. So he observed the mouse for some time, and he saw that the mouse did not develop pneumonia, right? And the mouse was alive, right? So first the live S type was injected, the mouse died. Now the second time the S strain is killed, heat killed, and it is injected, and the mouse did not develop pneumonia. In his fourth experiment, what he did was he injected living R type, right? The living bacteria that is he injected was R type, and with that living R type of bacteria, he injected the mouse with heat killed S strain, right? So what he did, he injected both type of the strains. R strain was alive and S strain was dead. So he injected both of them, a mixture of both of them into the mice. He saw that the mouse after a few days developed pneumonia and died. Now this was surprising, correct? If the S strain was already killed and then injected, then how did the mouse develop pneumonia? Griffith came to a conclusion saying that this R strain, the living bacteria which was injected, right, which was not capable of causing disease, absorbed or got something from S strain, the dead S strain. The living R strain took something from the dead S strain, and that whatever it took up was the genetic material, and it made genetic changes in the R strain, converting the R strain into S strain. So the R living bacteria, which was non-capable of causing disease, got converted into S type because of picking up something from the dead remains of the S type, and that something that was picked was called as genetic material, and it caused genetic changes in the R type, thus converting the R type to S type, and those bacteria now became virulent and they killed the mice. So in this experiment, Griffith tried to tell that DNA is the genetic material and DNA is a transforming principle also, right? Because it transformed the R strain into S strain. So what was Griffith's conclusion? He said that DNA is a genetic material and it is also the transforming principle because it was responsible for transforming the R-type bacteria into S-type bacteria. Let us talk about the second experiment, and the second experiment was done by Avery, MacLeod and McCarthy. They performed experiments. They took a time of 10 years of research and experimentation, and in 1944 they gave the first evidence, the proof that DNA itself is the genetic material, right? So to prove that DNA is a genetic material, what they did was they took a cell-free extract. Cell-free means the cell wall or cell membrane is not there. The cell membranes are broken up. All the cell contents are out of the cell now. So the contents of the cells, S-type, right? They took the heat-killed S-type, right? That the extract was cell-free means they had no cells in it. The cells were broken, and whatever was inside the cell was now out of the cell. So the extract was then purified, right? That from that extract, the DNA of S-type was separated, the RNA of the S-type was separated, the proteins of the S-type was separated, and the other materials of the S-type were separated. So each and every ingredient of the component of the S-type cell, which was S-killed, were separated. Then they were mixed with living R strain. Correct? Let us see how. Right? So what they took the R types, right? The living R types, and you know that the R types do not cause pneumonia. So they took 4 test tubes and they added the living R type bacteria into it. To those test tubes they added, right, for one of the test tube they added the S-type RNA, right? So the RNA that was separated from that particular ingredients, that RNA was added to the living R-type bacteria, and they found that the R bacteria remain as R bacteria. They did not get transformed to S. So they said that RNA is not a genetic material, correct? Then they added the living R-type bacteria with the protein of dead S-type, right? So this time the proteins of the S-type was added, right? And they found that the R-type bacteria are still the R-type. They did not get transformed into S-type. So they said that proteins are not the genetic material. Then in the third experiment they tried every other material that they separated from the extract. They added that material to the R-type and they found that the R-type did not change. The R-type was still the R-type. So again the other materials were discarded, and right, it was said that it is not a genetic material. In the fourth place, they added the living R-type with the DNA of S-type, right? So the DNA was added now, and surprisingly it so happened that this R-type got converted into S-type, right? The R-type bacteria got converted into S-type, and this proved that the genetic material is DNA. Let us talk about the third experiment, which was an firm proof that DNA is a genetic material. Let us learn about Hershey and Chase experiment. Correct? Hershey and Chase worked on viruses. The viruses which infect bacteria. We know that the viruses are the smallest of the living organisms. Of course, there are virids, but viruses are the smallest, and the larger than viruses are the bacteria. So the viruses which infect bacteria was studied by Hershey and Chase. Now you already know that the virus that infects bacteria are called as bacteriophage viruses. Correct? So the virus which infects bacteria are called as bacteriophages. Now this bacteriophage, if you look at the bacteriophage, it is made up of only 2 substances. It is having a protein coat, right? A coat which is made up of protein, and inside the protein we have a DNA, or many times there are RNAs also present. So the DNA which is present is a genetic material, whereas the protein coat is the cover for the bacteriophage. So a bacteriophage is a virus which is having a protein coat, and protein coat has all the proteins have sulfur in it, whereas the DNA has phosphorus in it. Correct? So the DNA has phosphorus in it. Correct? So if you talk about sulfur, sulfur is present with protein, is present in protein. If you talk about phosphorus, the phosphorus is a part of DNA. Just as the sulfur is a part of protein, so also the phosphorus is a part of DNA in a bacteriophage. Now Hershey and Chase performing an experiment. He took a bacteriophage, or he took the bacteriophages, and he cultured two groups of bacteriophages on different culture medium. The first culture medium he used was added with radioactive phosphorus. Correct? So the bacteriophages, a group of bacteriophages was grown on the medium, and the medium was having radioactive phosphorus, which we know as P32. Right? The P32 was added to the medium, and on this medium the bacteriophages were grown. In the second phase, he took the medium as radioactive. He took the medium and added it with radioactive sulfur. You know the radioactive sulfur is S35, and he added to the medium radioactive sulfur. Then he grew another group of bacteriophages on that medium. So now he has two mediums. One medium is having added with radioactive phosphorus, and the other medium is having the radioactive sulfur added to it. Now you know that when you grow this bacteriophages in those mediums, so naturally the medium in which there was a radioactive phosphorus, right? This radioactive phosphorus gets attached to the DNA, right? So in the medium where radioactive phosphorus was added, the DNA of that bacteriophage gets labeled with radioactive phosphorus. Whereas the medium which is having radioactive sulfur in it, right? In that medium, if you see the bacteriophages, the protein coat of the bacteriophages gets added with the radioactive sulfur. Now let us talk about it. So if you talk about the radioactive, the bacteriophages which were grown on radioactive phosphorus, the protein coat is not having any radioactive label, but the DNA has got labeled with radioactive phosphorus. In the other culture, you saw that the bacteriophages was, or the culture medium was added with radioactive sulfur, and what happens is the protein coat gets labeled with radioactive sulfur, and the DNA is not labeled with any radioactive ingredient. Now he allowed these two types of bacteriophages to infect a bacteria called as E. coli, right? So these bacteriophages were allowed to infect or attack the E. coli bacteria. Now if you talk about bacteriophages, when the bacteriophages attack the E. coli, right, these bacteriophages will only add the DNA inside the bacterium, whereas the protein coat stays outside. It is called as ghost. So the protein coat or the bacteriophages does not enter entirely into the E. coli. The protein coat is left outside, whereas the DNA is injected inside. So if the protein coat is labeled with radioactive sulfur, the radioactive sulfur stays with the protein coat, whereas the DNA is not radioactively labeled, and so it is entering the E. coli. Then what is happening? We are taking this particular mixture, right? We centrifuge it and we separate the cells from the protein coats. The protein coats become the supernatant. Now we test this supernatant and this cell part, right, separately. Right? You see that in the first experiment where the cells were tested, the cells did not have any radioactive DNA into it. But when the supernatant of that particular centrifuge mixture was tested, it was found that the centrifuge substance or the supernatant was showing the presence of radioactive sulfur. Right? In the second experiment, right, the other bacteriophages whose DNA was labeled by radioactive phosphorus were allowed to infect the E. coli. Again, the same thing happens. The protein coat stays outside, the DNA is injected inside the bacteria. Then the bacteria or the mixture was centrifuged, and the cells got separated from the supernatant which was having protein coat. Correct? So when the cells were tested for radioactivity, they found that the cells were showing the radioactivity of phosphorus 32, whereas the supernatant was not showing any radioactivity. So that clarifies that the genetic material is the transforming principle. So what happened was, here the cell was not having any radioactive DNA, or the cell was not radioactive because the DNA was not radioactive. Here, whereas the DNA is radioactive because it is labeled as with radioactive phosphorus, and that tells you that what enters inside the bacteria is the DNA and not the proteins. So if the DNA are entering, or if the DNA of the bacteriophages enters into the E. coli, it will take the control of the machinery of the cell, and it will make that E. coli cell do what the virus wants to do, and it will produce its own type inside the bacteria. So as a result, the bacteria will die after the replication of the virus gets completed. So this was an experiment which confirmed that what enters into the bacteria cell is the DNA, and so DNA is the transforming principle.